Clinical excellence, unmatched patient care, unmatched innovation. How do we achieve these things in healthcare? How do we achieve these things in eye care? On today's podcast, we're going to talk about how we bring the industry together and change and elevate our profession, but most importantly, make a big change in the world of healthcare. Welcome to Defocus Media, Optometry's #1 podcast network. Let's go.
This is a Defocus Media production.
Audio Jungle.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover.
And I'm Dr. Jennifer Lyerly, resident optometry nerd.
And welcome to Defocus Media, Optometry's #1 podcast, where we discuss the hottest topics, latest technology, eyewear, practice management, and more. So sit back, relax, and defocus.
What's up, everyone? It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. I am super excited today because we have two game changers on today's podcast. Two game changers that understand the importance of what we do as eye care professionals and how it really changes the game for the entire healthcare system. I always like to say optometry is truly the gateway into the healthcare system. The things we see by looking at the eyes, the conversations that we have in that exam lane, the amount of time that we spend our patients is unmatched when you think about any other healthcare disciplinary. On today's show, I like to welcome my friends, my colleagues. I feel like these guys are my brothers because I hang around their campus so much that, I feel like I'm part of the New England College of Optometry's family. Friends and family, I'd like to welcome Dr. Howard Purcell and Dr. Gary Chu. How are you gentlemen doing today?
We're doing great.
Doing great.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, man, super excited to have you guys. And when I stated that I feel like I'm your family, I truly do. Every time I come up to your campus, you guys roll out the red carpet. But the thing that really excites me is just all the bright minds that you have on campus. The things that excite me are the way that your clinical labs look. I mean, you guys are really innovative and forward-thinking and have really changed the eye care system, but most importantly, the school system. But today, I have you here because we're going to talk about how we can change the industry. And I remember maybe 4 years ago, I had the opportunity of hanging out with Howard down at SECO. And he came up with this amazing concept known as the Industry Collaborative. And I feel like before we get too far into this conversation, I feel like we need to take it back to the roots. But before we get there, let's learn and talk about who you guys are and what you do, if you don't mind. So typically I say ladies first, but there's no ladies on this call. Typically we always have them, right? But Dr. Chu, let's let you get started here, and then we'll get Dr. Howard Purcell to come in, and then he'll kind of set the tone in regards to why we're even having this conversation.
Yeah. So my name's Gary Chu. I call myself a Chinese Canadian American because my lived experience really affects and has given me perspective throughout my life. Just my parents immigrating to Canada and then coming here and just trying to experience where my parents did not speak English and what that meant and how do I contribute back. Then fast forward, I found optometry as a calling, came to New England College of Optometry thinking I'll be there for 4 years, but 30 years later, I'm still here. But I'm so grateful for my journey in optometry because it's the experience that I've gotten at NECO that led me to get a public health degree, led me to do a residency, led me to teaching, and led me to a passion for caring for communities. And that's where my focus has been.
I love it. And you've done that exactly. Now, something I do want to call out, I always like to do fun facts, and I'm going to do a fun fact for you, Dr. Chu.
Okay.
This young man was on what I would like to call the GQ of Eye Care magazine. His face was all on there. Every time I see him, I like to bust him up about it a little bit.
Yes.
So all my eye care family, we have a rock star in the flesh here on Defocus Media. I would never let you live that down, man. You look very handsome.
You have never let me down on that one. So. But thanks for the reminder. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, man. But thanks so much again for being on the show. Dr. Howard Purcell, man, you're no stranger to the show. As a matter of fact, I want to give you a special shout out for a lot of people that may not know, when Defocus Media was birthed. It was birthed a long time ago, and Dr. Purcell was actually a part of the Esselor family. And Dr. Purcell, I reached out to him, and I wanted to have a very tough conversation with him. And he did not back down. He said, bring it on, baby. And we had an amazing conversation. And I think that was one of the key podcasts that really kicked Defocus Media off. So Dr. Purcell, man, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. For those that may not know who you are, what you do, if you don't mind sharing your story as well, my friend.
My pleasure, Dr. Glover. Thank you. Thanks for having us on the show. And you are my favorite optometrist. That's my title, but you are my favorite optometrist. No, I mean, you can see why I love what I do every day. I get to work with people like Dr. Chu, who give so much of have given all of their career to academia. And it's truly incredible. For me, I've had an amazing journey. I've been really blessed in optometry, private practice with my father for about 10 years and then 25 years in industry. I was with J&J for a while. I was with Essilor, now Essilor-Luxottica, for part of my career. Now I get to be in academia, and it's just been an incredible ride. I've been influenced by so many people, not just today by people like Dr. Chu, but in my career in the industry side, just you get to meet so many incredibly high-performing people and innovative people, and they're really create from the inside in many ways, and that inspired me to have a chance to come back to an institution where I went and my father went to school.
Wow.
Pretty special for me, and to work with people like Dr. Chu, Dr. Weisberg, the incredible faculty that we have. These people give an incredible amount of their time and effort and energy towards the future of our profession. I honestly don't think, teachers in general probably don't get the credibility they deserve. But the people who teach our optometry students, and we need more, my friend. We're seeing more schools pop up. We're going to need great faculty and leaders like Dr. Chu and others who come in and really help to push the envelope. We get a lot of critiques, but it doesn't slow us down. We have to continue to push. And that's where the industry collaborative candidly came from. My personal experience, Gary's personal experiences, in saying, if we can understand each other a little better. I think I've told you this before, that I felt like if I knew what I know now when I was in the industry side, trying to support the industry like you do every day, and we appreciate that so much. Certainly, I know I speak for the broad audience, not just NECO, but NECO appreciates that. But I felt like if I had that insight, I could be more effective and better, and had some good conversations with Gary, and it just started, one thing led to another, and we felt like this can happen. I'll let him pick up the story, but he has taken it and run with it. Where this is our fourth version of it. It's going to be amazing. We'll hopefully get a chance to tell you a little bit about some of the specifics of the program. But the whole idea is to have those good, frank discussions like you and I have all the time, Dr. Glover. We want to have that broader and bring people around the table who are the decision makers, who have resources. Say what you will about Essilor-Luxottica and some of these other companies. They have incredible resources. They support our industry. And if we can convince them and show them why supporting academia like they have for many years, and even ratcheting that up a bit and understanding what the real issues are, we're ready to lift up the hood, if you will, and show what's really going on, the good, the bad, the ugly, if you will. I've heard Gary use that term a couple of times. We're going to show them all of that. And then equally as honest on the other side. And how do we work together? We cannot do it without the industry. We can't achieve the goals we have. We can't control the debt that we have. We can't increase the applicant pool unless we continue to build those relationships. And I want to thank, first of all, Gary for the work he's done, but the people who've attended, who put their time and energy and put their dollars in, and there's some great outputs and outcomes already that Gary can share. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you to you. Thank you to companies you represent, primarily my eye doctor, for the support they've given. And anyone listening to this, if you've been part of our ramp up and part of this journey, we appreciate it so much. But the brains behind it is that guy right there.
Well, I love this, man. And the thing that I love that you really took into account is really incorporating academia, industry, and media, right? Those are three powerhouses that can really get the message and get all the right people in the right room to have a conversation. And I just think that's just a game changer. Now, Dr. Chu, man, I really want to break this down, but I think it's only right to start with what the theme of this year's industry collaborative is. So if you don't mind maybe mentioning what the theme is and why did you choose that theme in particular, especially in 2024?
So the theme is health equity in eye care. And you wonder why. So when we started thinking about all the different programs we did in the last 3 years, right after the pandemic, telehealth was front and center. and we realize how we need to deliver care differently. And then when we look at the landscape of eye care, there's a maldistribution, and some would even say a shortage. The baby boomer generation is retiring, and we need more eye doctors. But then when we dig into it, we realize all health professions are the same. There are so many healthcare deserts and eye care deserts are there. And we rely on our eyes to not only work, not only to learn, but to play. How often do we, right now, we're using our eyes to view this podcast. We're staring at a computer all the time, but yet we forget how that's important. And then when you look at healthcare itself, eye care is often forgotten.
Yes.
In Massachusetts, I was asked to join what we call as a health equity compact. There was a formation of a nonprofit called the Health Equity Compact, but it was relationships that NECO has built over 50 plus years with our relationship with community health centers. And then that's where the conversation started. And then we said, hey, don't forget us. So I remember there was a health equity bill, and they asked me to be on a panel to testify. And they labeled that panel as non-traditional healthcare. How in the world is eye care non-traditional? That doesn't make sense. And they teamed up. Doesn't make sense. We rely on that. And so when we finally had a Vision Health Equity Summit, I invited these leaders. But the first question we asked is, well, why is this important? Tell us about your past. Everyone mentioned they had a vision problem, but yet they've forgotten about it, but how it affected their learning and how it affected their journey. Why are we doing that? I've seen it being so powerful that when people share their stories, things change. And then it dawned on us, and we mentioned it, Howard used the word, we want to have insight. We talked about academia and industry and media. We're not communicating. Right. Well, we're not communicating with the broader healthcare community. We're not communicating with the health policy people because we're in our own echo chambers. We talk to ourselves, but it's only when we start talking to others, then we see those broader connections. And that's what the industry collaborates. Like Howard said, we're going to lift up the hood. We're going to talk about that. We're going to challenge one another. It may get uncomfortable, but we need just enough tension so that we can have meaningful conversations. We don't all have the answers, but we just got to start. And that's what really the industry collaborative is about. That's why we want to focus on health equity and kind of look at that. Because if you look at even scope of practice, one of my good friends is an ophthalmologist, and in the New England Ophthalmological Society, they had a debate about scope of practice for optometry. He called me up and he said, can you help me with this? Because he wanted to represent optometry. We had a great conversation. Yeah. And now I invited him to the industry collaborative. He's going to be one of the panelists, Dr. Jason Brenner. And we're going to talk about that. And he doesn't disagree, but there's things that we need to work out. And I totally understand that, but we need to have those conversations.
I love that.
That's what this is about.
I love that. And I love that you mentioned having these uncomfortable conversations. I was at a conference not too long ago, and I brought up that it's very important for us to have these uncomfortable conversations with people that don't know who we are. Because a lot of times we just sit in the same room with the same people and have the same conversation. And not saying it doesn't go anywhere, but we need to speak to the masses. Exactly. We have an incredible profession, and it's up to us to get out there and let the world know how great optometry is and all the things that we can do, and how us as opticians, as optometrists, as ophthalmologists can work together and change what healthcare looks like. But it's up to us to really have that uncomfortable conversation with other healthcare disciplinaries, but also patients that are out there as well, so that they know all the great things that we can do. Now, Dr. Chu and Dr. Purcell, what I'd like to pivot to next is really just kind of breaking down what this day or this day of events or multiple days will look like. Because I was looking at the agenda and it was jam-packed with just tons of great information. So let's kind of walk through what the day will look like for those that are thinking about going, but they're unsure. So let's kind of break that down if you don't mind.
Gary, why don't you take us through and then you get to the portion that I'll facilitate. I'm happy to talk a little bit about that.
And please jump in. So, the first day is Monday, September 9th. It's going to be on our campus at 3:30. We're going to welcome everybody, and then we're going to have Dr. Rich Edlow, the economist, come and speak.
Wow.
Because we're going to talk about eye care disruptions and opportunities, because we need to really look at the data. I've enjoyed my conversations with Rich because he knows the payer data and what's happening. He's not only working with optometry, he's working with ophthalmology as well. And we need to understand what's happening and what we need to do. Because where we are currently, we're not going to be able to meet the needs. So
Right.
how do we think differently? So I want to set the stage for that. And then we're gonna lift up the hood in terms of as education on campus. We're gonna have a day in the life of an echo student. We did a nice video of what's going on, and we're going to team it up with our 2 faculty members, Dr. Beena Patel and Dr. Jennifer Riley, and it's going to be moderated by Dr. Eric Weisberg, our Dean and Vice President of Academic Affairs, just to get understanding. Hey, you have this student, when the first year, a lot of head knowledge. In your second year, you start to use your hands because, we are a profession that we need to use our hands and our eyes to really gather information.
Sure.
And then you transfer it to when you're in clinic, and that's where you're going to engage your heart. But those 3 things are very separate, and we need to have a discussion of what it is. It's not like when the 3 of us went to optometry school. It's totally different. But there's a lot of information. How do they gather what's in their head? How they collect the information with their hands and eyes, and then how do they really talk to the patient, engage your heart? Because oftentimes when we go to optometry school, we want to care for people. We want to help people. We want to continue to fan that flame, but increase their knowledge and their insight so that they can really help.
I like that, and I just want to spend a couple of minutes on that because I think when we're hearing this, as eye care professionals, we have to really applaud you guys because you're actually giving the students a platform to voice what they're going through.
Correct.
A lot of times we make decisions and think that it's the best decisions for students, but I think it's very important to hear what they have to say and hear what their journey looks like. We've done an incredible job with mastering the patient journey, but what about the student OD journey? What does that look like?
And also the faculty journey, because how they wrestle. And when we did this video, just hearing our faculty talk about the journey and how passionate they are in teaching, because they want to ensure that we impart that knowledge, but that the head, the hands, and the heart to help their patients. So each way along the way, we have to engage different parts of that student's being, but also being very innovative in how we teach that. Sometimes it's modeling, sometimes it's a lot of verbal, sometimes it's a lot of engaging the heart so that there's transformation in how they learn and then really how they care for their patients and their communities.
I love it. I love it.
And Dr. Glover, if I could just tie together what you said, I think you hit the nail right on the head, which is the idea is a better understanding, a better appreciation. We all have our own examples, and we have 3 different generations we're looking at right now. I mean, if I am to make the mistake of thinking optometry school is the same as it was 40 years ago when I went to school, and I'm making some big mistakes. But I will say, even going, with all due respect, next to Dr. Chu, he went in a different era. It's much different than that, but that's the experience we bring to the table. Dr. Glover, you went even more recently. It's changed a lot since you went to school, let me assure you. So,
hey, man, I'm becoming a little more seasoned now, man. Students are now starting to call me the OG, right? So that means I've graduated, got a few more grades.
There you go.
I'm starting to go.
No, but the reality is we have our own experience that we bring, and we think that's what it's like. So we feel like our job is to show you a little bit more of what is it really like today, and that way it puts you in a better position to support that. And you mentioned student participation. Gary's been all about that from the beginning, and you'll see a lot more of our students and our faculty engaging in the industry collaborative. At the very first meeting was very much a small group. We weren't even sure who would show up, to be honest. And a lot of people did, and we thank you for that so much. So it was just sort of a very tight group, but we found there's so much good information. A couple students joined us, actually a good handful of students joined us last year and said, this was incredible. We want to be part of it, not only just in the presentation side, but we'd like to take advantage of the learning. And so Gary has really adapted that so that we can all participate now.
Mm-hmm. And then we're going to have a networking dinner right on campus to engage all parts of faculty, staff, students, and our industry partners. And then on the next day, we're going to pivot away from our college campus to a space called the Artists for Humanity, which is in South Boston. It's a larger space. It's very unique what they're doing there. The executive director will tell us what that space is about, how they really appreciate the arts, and it's a place for people to gather. And we're going to start off and kick it off with Howard doing a Q&A with John Katzman about artificial intelligence and education. It's going to be a little fireside chat.
And maybe just quickly, sorry, Gary, just
go for it.
For those who might not know John, he kind of is the father of online education in many ways. It's like sort of talking to the George Washington of this space. John started the Princeton Review, which many people who might be my age might go back that far. So that was sort of the first of its kind type of review courses in prep for whatever type of boards and different things and exams you were going to take. John since then started a company called 2U, which is the largest online education provider. It was. That model became outdated. He left that group and started a group called Noodle. But John is really the person who has led the way in many cases around artificial intelligence in education, how to bring these together. And really, it's technology in education. Right now, everyone wants to talk about artificial intelligence, rightly so. We should be talking about it. But he can bring an even broader perspective. So we're so excited to have John. He'll do a fireside chat, so we'll have a few questions open to the audience. It'll give us a perspective from the outside a little bit more of what's going on. John has taken me to a couple amazing meetings, South by Southwest that does a great portion of South by Southwest that does a great job at looking at innovations in education. And then something called ASU GSV, Arizona State University, came together with the global Silicon Valley. So tech and education coming together. John is one of the founders of that meeting. And one of the wonderful thing is he took me around that meeting, introduced me to a lot of people. You know, being with him was kind of like being with my favorite optometrist walking around an optometry meeting. You know, everybody stops and says hello. And but John's amazing. I'm so excited. I know Gary is too, that John's going to be able to join us and give us his perspective that I think will be quite unique and I hope very stimulating and encouraging for all of us as we start to go down this path. In education, by the way, John has experienced not just in formal education like optometry school, but in continuing education, in all the different aspects of how we educate, sales education, you know, corporations that are educating. So he can really speak from a very broad swath of experience. And I think that'll be quite interesting for us. But education's changing, as you know. Absolutely. It is. And if we don't change with it, we're going to be left behind. And that's why great people like Gary and others that we're fortunate enough to have at NECO. We hired somebody, by the way, that really leads our technology and innovation team now. And that's critical. There's just so much out there and to start to sift through it. So we're going to really be able to have someone who's going to bring some of that insight. But excited to have John Katzman. I think it'll be a wonderful opportunity. And I hope there'll be a lot of great questions coming from a lot of our attendees.
Wow. I love it. I mean, I think this is what the industry needs. I know this is what the industry needs. You know, a lot of times we get false information on blogs, on different forums, online. And I think when you can bring together great minds to have a real conversation about real issues and talk about real solutions, that's what we need. That's how we change the face of eye care. That's how we change the healthcare system. So I applaud you, gentlemen, for doing a fantastic job with doing this the first year, but going into year 4. We need this, and I just want to say thank you. And I want to give both of you your flowers, man. You guys are very special. I mean, again, I've had the opportunity to come on your campus, and I've walked through the campus with you, gentlemen, and just the love that you get, not just from the faculty, but from the students, is just unmatched. And I think that's a testament to the great things that you have done at your institution to help push our profession forward. The students are the ones that speak volumes. So continue the great work. For all of those that are listening to this podcast and they're interested in attending the industry collaborative, if you don't mind maybe dropping those dates again and where they can find more information, that'll be fantastic. Dr.
Gary, give you that and maybe quickly just go through the rest because there's more than even what we just gave you. But thank you for those kind words. Appreciate it. And I'll tell you, give kudos to all the people out there at the schools and colleges of optometry and the work they're doing.
Yes.
It's just amazing what they get accomplished. The scope of our profession has broadened so much, and that's amazing. But just keep in mind every once in a while the pressure that puts on these great people who are trying to teach our wonderful future colleagues and prepare them for an incredible world of optometry, which is so much broader than ever before. But Gary, maybe you give a little more detail, and then there's a couple more pieces to the program, perhaps?
Yeah, just really quick. Then we're going to dive into the debate that I talked to you about scope of practice. So we're going to have an ophthalmologist, Jason Brenner, Dr. Curtis Ono, AOA trustee, will be there. Nice. Jeff Sanchez, former chair of the Massachusetts Ways and Means Committee, will be there, as well as Monica Vora. Dr. Monica Vora is the chief medical officer of Dot House Health, is a community health center. Our oldest relationship that started in 1969. And she was formerly the chief medical officer of Mass Health, which is our state Medicaid. And then we have our very own Dr. Diane Russo, who's a faculty member, who's our director of clinical education. Wow. And then we'll wrap it up later on with impact of some of the partnerships we have with like behavioral health, dentistry, children's health, as well as a health policy director, or actually a health policy expert who leads a local community foundation that we've been engaging about eye care in schools. And then also one of our partners we work with, Dr. Siobhan Dave, who is the co-founder of Plant Optica, which we worked for 10 years with, and how they're continuing to innovate and think about refraction differently. And so we're going to bring all those things together to wrap it up, that we can do different things when we work together, when we think a little bit differently, when we work with others. So again, September 9th and 10th, Monday and Tuesday, the week after Labor Day here in Boston. You can go to neco.edu, and if you just type Industry Collaborative, it'll pop you up to the website for you to register.
I love
pretty good at that commercial. Good job, Gary.
I know, man. I'm gonna have to put him on the Defocus Media team. He might put me out of a job, man.
I'm just learning from Dr. Glover and you, Dr. Purcell. I just have to follow you guys around.
Well, Dr. Purcell, man, take us home, man, if you don't mind.
I'm happy to. Well, let me just say this. We appreciate, first of all, you giving us the opportunity to talk about this, the continued support you've given. But we want to continue to encourage this wonderful industry that we're all, our hearts in, and our souls and everything we do is in, that by coming together and addressing the key issues that we face, and there are issues, believe me, they're surmountable if we come together, we work together, we have some of the difficult discussions. You know, Daryl, when you were talking about that, it makes me think about so many of the difficult discussions we've had over the past few years in all industries, but academia for sure. And you know what? We've gotten a little more comfortable with that. And that, I hope, leads us to saying the same thing about our beloved profession. Let's talk about the ways, you know, there's always been sort of this church and state between industry and academia. And there should be some separation, no question. But I will say what I said earlier, without coming together, we can't accomplish the things that I know and we all know we can accomplish. And look at, you know, debt and how it's accumulating and how we're going to address that. Look at applicant pool, making sure we're representative of the communities. We have an obligation to that. Yes. We're going to follow the law. Don't get me wrong. The law is the law. But at the same time, we know in the medical profession, if you choose to have a doctor who looks like you, we want you to have that option, because we know if you choose to have a doctor who looks like you, the end results are better. The trust is there. So we feel that obligation. Just one example of many. We need help. We can't do it ourselves. I'm proud of the 3 private independent optometry schools that are still out there. Back, 10, 15 years ago, they said we'd never last. We're all doing great. That's great news too. But you know what? I'm proud to be part of this academic side of optometry and all the great work that's done there, but partnerships. And that's why Gary's ending with that, right? It ultimately comes down to the partnerships. We don't have the resources. Others have those resources. We think we can see through some of the areas that are in need and have that dialogue. And that's what the Industry Collaborative is all about. So look forward to seeing everybody September 9th and 10th in Boston. Artists for Humanity, by the way, is an incredible place. We support young artists that don't have the support that they need. It's amazing. Even if you don't like us or the subject matter, support it for that reason alone. These kids are amazing. So, no, I'm kidding. But thank you, Dr. Glover. We appreciate it. And Defocus Media, your whole team, we appreciate you giving us a chance to talk about it. And we're super excited to see everybody in a few weeks.
Hey, man, thank you so much, gentlemen. Again,
Thank
this
you.
has been fantastic. I learned so much, as I always do. Everyone that's listening, teamwork makes the dream work. The power of partnerships will elevate our profession. What are you doing to partner with these different organizations? What can you do to take it to the next level? What value can you provide? We all got to work together, you guys. Make sure you attend the industry collaborative. Make sure you take notes. Make sure you go back to your respective organizations and have those conversations that were had at the industry collaborative, because that's the only way we're going to be able to push this profession forward. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. Stay healthy, stay positive, and stay blessed. And until next time, peace. Hey, family, if you enjoyed this full podcast, don't miss out on more engaging content. Check out the next episode right here. And for the latest updates, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Your support means the world to us. Catch us in the next episode. Peace.